Does a hooded nib have any function other than just looks? This is a great question. The short answer is yes, it does. So part of it is aesthetic, and if you don't know what a hooded nib is, I will show you right now. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. You can see how much I haven't shaven. I just feel the need to comment about that, and then I feel the need to comment about how I comment about it. Anyway, this is a Lamy 2000, probably one of the more popular modern hooded nibs that's available. It's not a fully hooded nib like the old Parker 51, which I'll show you in a second, but it's not like a conventional nib. A conventional nib is, you know, exposed more like that, and a hooded nib is basically covered a lot. So part of it is aesthetic, I guess. I don't know that that's really the main intention of it, though. I think that's more of the byproduct. But the advantages you have with a hooded nib like this is, for one, because more of the nib is covered up, it is not as exposed to air, so the nib actually stays a little bit wetter. So if you leave the pen sitting out, it doesn't dry out as quickly. It's one of the things I love the most specifically about the Lamy 2000 is you can leave it sitting out for quite a while, longer than most conventional pens, and it'll stay wet. Another advantage is when you're holding the pen, you can actually hold it much closer to the tip without getting ink on your fingers. Now, me personally, I don't have a problem with this because I hold my pens pretty far back. I have large hands, long fingers, it's not really an issue for me. But for some people that like to grip really close, it can be to the point where they actually grip over onto the nib and grip onto the feed, and then they get ink on the fingers like this. Some pens it's not as bad as others, but you know, for something like, whoops, Lamy 2000 cap will not go on a Homo sapiens. For something like a Lamy 2000, you can grip way, way, way closer, like closer down than you would even practically be able to write. And you will not get the ink on the finger thing. So that's another kind of nice practical part of it. And another thing too that most hooded nibs have is, you know, when you have a filler hole on your pen, for example, the Homo sapiens, I'll grab that since it's right here. To fill the pen, it actually fills right about here. So when I'm dipping my pen into my bottle of ink, which I have a bottle of Blue Ghost here, which I'll talk about in a little bit, you know, I need to have at least, you know, about half the bottle to really be able to, you know, without having to tilt it and do all this craziness, which I very well am used to do that. But if I just dip it straight down in the bottle, I'm going to have at least, you know, this high, oh boy, I'm getting hard to hold it up, at least this high of an ink level. So you got to have a good third to a half a bottle of ink to really be able to fill it all the way easily. Well, with something like a Lamy 2000, the filler hole on here is very easy to see. It's right there. So I can fill it, and you see where it hits there. You can see where the filler hole lies. I only need about a fifth of the bottle to be able to do it. So you're able to fill with less ink in the bottle. That's a big advantage of having that. And the other pen that I have that is a hooded nib, probably the most famous hooded nib, if not one of the most famous pens of all time, is certainly one of the best selling pens of its time, if not of all time, is the Parker 51. And a Parker 51 is definitely a hooded nib. You can see it's got the feed sticking out a little bit there, and this one is a very, very hooded nib. It only just has a little bit of the nib sticking out there, even more so than the Lamy 2000. So similar kind of concept, a little bit further up on the hoodingness of it, but this is the same kind of thing where it fills from right here. So it's actually even a little higher up than the Lamy 2000. So that's a big advantage of these pens. Not a ton of hooded nibs out there. Actually just met with our sales rep from Aurora today and found out we're going to be getting the Aurora Duo Cart, which I don't have one here to show you, but that one is going to be coming out fairly soon. That's kind of a vintage pen that Aurora is bringing back out, and they are bringing that one as a hooded nib as well. So that's another kind of newer vintage inspired one that will be coming out soon. So that'll be pretty cool. But that's a little bit about hooded nibs. I'm actually a big fan of them. I kind of wish that more modern companies would do hooded nibs, to be honest with you, but you know, we'll see.